Welcome to Claim Your Power. I played the old intro. Remember, we used to have an intro
I do, and I just heard that.
because you were running late. That's why I played the intro. Like, all right, she's not here. I'm going to play the intro, and then I'll just pop in there. And you popped in perfectly, as per my intention that I set.
I'm a popper.
Manifesting my reality over here.
Yeah, you did.
Most of the time I do.
Hi,
Well,
David.
I'm always manifesting my reality. I'm just not always manifesting my desires.
Ooh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told a story today that's coming out on the podcast in a couple of weeks. Guess who my guest was today that I recorded with?
Who?
Walt Thiessen.
Well, what's up with Walt?
Captain of LOA Today, the LOA Today podcast. If you haven't checked out LOA Today, he's on 3 days a week. He goes on live, and so you can interact live, I think, via YouTube, and he's everywhere else you find podcasts. But it's a lot of fun over there. I haven't been there in a while, and I miss being on with him because it's always a blast. And how long has it been since you've been on with him? Before you injured yourself, at least, right?
No, it was after.
Oh, you went on after? Okay.
Yeah, drug-infested Debbie, all high on pills and a
nice
hurt leg. I'm sure I came across really well.
You were probably very spiritual.
I was very spiritual. Oh.
But Debbie, she's so spiritual. No, she's just stoned.
She's just really,
she's not
really
talking to spirit. She's hallucinating.
She's on set.
The only time when I was on Oxycontin for a year. We can talk about that. And the only time I hallucinated on Oxycontin was because I wasn't abusing it. I was taking it as directed.
Correct.
But my doctor upped my dosage, which was a whole story behind that. Now I know why, because I've watched the documentary Painkiller on Netflix, and my whole Oxycontin experience was exactly parallel to everything that got revealed in that documentary, which was really interesting. I did get myself off of it eventually, but I was on it for a year, and I went on business to New York, and we got finished doing this installation early. This was many years ago, 90s, no, early 2000s, like 2001. And I decided to take everybody, and we went and stayed at the W Hotel in Times Square to sort of celebrate, getting done early and all that. Mm-hmm. And so my hotel room was in Times Square, out to all the lights and craziness of Times Square. And we all went out to dinner, and most of my staff that was there with me, in fact, all of them, they were younger than me. I was in my 30s at the time. They were all in their 20s. And I had a couple of martinis with dinner, and I was on Oxycontin. And they all wanted to go out. I'm like, I have no desire to go out with all of you, in New York. I'm going to go back to the room and crash. Plus, I was the boss. I didn't want to be doing all that stuff with them. So I crashed.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up on Oxycontin and martinis. And in my hotel room, there were these people in my hotel room, and their hair was fire. They were cartoons. They were cartoon people in my hotel room. And of course, I think it had to do with all the flashing lights that was outside my room.
Yeah.
And their hair was just straight up fire, flames. And there were hedges, and there was a group behind this hedge and a group behind that hedge. And they were playing a game. They would pop up and they would spit fire out of their mouths. And then the other person would open their mouth and catch the fire. I didn't know what in the hell was going on. And one of them came back early, and she checked on me.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what happened. I crashed on the bed early, and I had this experience. And she says, you were tripping. Man, you were tripping. And I'm like,
what year was that?
Early 2000s. 01, 02, somewhere in there.
Okay, so
probably 02, because New York would have been a really different experience in 01. So it was probably 02, 03, something.
I had the same experience with that drug, as a matter of fact, and alcohol. And they were little guys like that. And I thought I was losing my mind.
Maybe we had a collective consciousness journey 20 years before we ever met. Who knows?
They were talking to me in the backseat of the car, and I'm like, and
were they cartoons?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it was something.
Yeah, well, maybe there's an alternate cartoon reality that we just don't know about, and that's how we came up with cartoons,
Yeah, it's quite probable. Well,
we tapped into it.
Well, what's interesting about that is that this time, like, I'm taking the Percocet. There's anything weird. Of course, I don't drink.
It's not as heavy duty as the Oxycontin, right?
Well, it is Oxy, basically.
Is it?
It's
Is it
just
still the same? Okay.
it's still basically with Tylenol, yeah. But I didn't get that kinda it wasn't really a thing. But can I tell the difference? Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing, I'm really glad it's still getting out of my system, I'm still but yeah, the stuff is scary, quite
Yeah, I
frankly.
don't, I never cared to use it recreationally. I didn't like that buzzy feeling
No,
that it got me on, but I hurt my back. We moved into a high rise building in Orlando, Florida. So I
right.
hurt my back moving, and I was laid up in bed, couldn't get out of bed. It was when my spondylolisthesis was diagnosed for the first time. And my primary care doctor was my neighbor across the hall. He was a young doctor, just out of med school,
That's
no, out of
convenient.
residency. And he would write the Oxycontin prescriptions and just slide them under my front door. How convenient, right?
Yeah,
And I didn't know anything about, this was kind of before the whole thing with Oxycontin really blew up.
right.
And I didn't know what opiates were. I had never been on pain pills in my life. I wasn't used to being on prescriptions. I was taking it 2 a day, every day. And I didn't really think about having a problem until I realized that months and months and months into it, that I was hiding the pills in my. I used to have a Palm Pilot. I'm really aging myself now. Way before iPhones, kids, there was this thing called a Palm Pilot, and it was
Mhm.
like a little personal data assistant or something. PD, I don't know what it
Yeah.
was. Anyway, and you could take notes in it and stuff like that. And I was hiding little OxyContin pills because I never wanted to be without. And I wasn't even sure why, because I hadn't yet experienced withdrawal, but for some reason I was like, I can't not take these. I have to have it in my, in case I get stuck out or a flat
Yeah.
tire or something. I can't wait till I get home from work to take my next round. I've got to have it on me at all times. So I had them hidden like all over the place. But I remember stuffing them into the pockets of that thing. And then something finally dawned on me that, hey, maybe you have a problem with this stuff. And I stopped taking it. And sure enough, I went through withdrawals, the heebie jeebies and the crawling skin and all of that stuff. And I contacted the doctor, who had already upped my dosage without my knowledge. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you still have the pain, so you might as well just stay on it. That's great. Thanks.
I'd love to be shocked, but I'm not, and I'm not because of my experience at the same almost the same time, couple years later, and the if anybody out there is listening to this, first off, I'm gonna tell you that it's probably not your fault that this happened because I
Oh, no,
have
it
a
was engineer. If you watch Painkiller, watch the documentary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Matthew
just need
Broderick stars as the doctor, so it's really well done. And you saw how manipulative it all was,
yeah,
and how they rewarded the doctors for prescribing it and for increasing the dosage, because the drug reps got paid commission based on the milligrams.
correct.
Yeah, I had no idea. All these
Yeah,
years, I thought
I
he was just a careless doctor that might double my dosage. Because I remember the pharmacist, I
mm-mm.
didn't even pay attention. It was just scribble on a piece of paper that got me my happy pills, right? So I went to the pharmacy, and he says, "This is like twice your dosage that you've been
Yeah,
getting.
uh-huh.
Why?" I said, "I don't know." So he calls the doctor, and of course, whatever the doctor said on the phone, okay, here you go. Here's twice that. And I felt it. I remember going home and taking it. I'm like, whoa,
Oh,
that
yeah.
buzziness was just, palpable. And I didn't like it, but I couldn't stop it.
That's right. That is how that works. As a matter of fact, my experience is exactly the same, except that mine wasn't living across the hall, but rather Laguna Niguel, and some ritzy doctor, and it was a pain management doctor. I had neuropathy. I say had because I'm still healing it, but I had neuropathy and a whole bunch of other stuff from breaking my back when I was a kid, right? And so I would complain, it's not working. So he'd up the dose, and then I wasn't sleeping. So he gave me Ambien. And then, he's like, well, you need a muscle relaxer. So here's some Valium. I remember one day getting into my little go kart thing. I had one of those go karts you could ride. It's not a go kart, you guys. It's a
Golf cart.
wheelchair. It's a
Oh, I was
wheelchair.
going to say, you're talking about a golf cart?
No, I'm talking a wheelchair with a thumb throttle.
Okay. Fun.
I was so high.
You didn't get on the freeway in your wheelchair, did you? She's cracking up now.
I was cruising down the street. I lived Y'all, I lived like on the beach. You could take the elevator down to the beach. And I was in downtown LBC, Long Beach, California. Now, y'all know anything about California and anything about Long Beach. Long Beach is a very diverse area, extremely. Some parts of it are rad, other parts are very scary,
Yeah.
especially for me to be writing and in my early maybe 40s back then or late 30s, cruising down Long Beach Boulevard, going, and then I'd stroll right up into I'd take my little cart, go up into the Bonds, keep riding, go see my kids. No, we're talking like 5 miles of me riding my wheelchair.
That's funny.
And cars. Yeah, I got some
Oh,
Hondas.
there's tons of traffic out at the beach. Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
I'm just waving hi to everybody. And I get to my sons are in this house that they also had in Long Beach. And they were literally like, did you just ride that wheelchair? You just rode that all the way here? Yeah, and I need to recharge.
That was before you could plug in everywhere like you can now.
Was completely lit. I was going down the street. Woo, I'll never forget. I was just like bouncing. I don't know how I did that and got away with it.
That's funny.
But
Cheryl says Ambien almost got her killed, and she was all for. I was on Ambien again
it's some
years ago.
scary stuff.
I
Yeah.
loved Ambien. I don't. I guess I took just the right dosage for me. I would take an Ambien. I would sleep like a baby for 8 hours, and I would wake up feeling refreshed, no hungover, weirdness or anything like that, and ready to go. I used to love it when I was in the corporate world. I needed something to knock me out. I don't anymore, but back then I did. And then, of course, it started becoming a problem, and you couldn't get it anymore. And I would tell the doctors, look, it doesn't, I'm not addicted to it. I don't take it, all the time. I just take it when I go through these periods where I can't sleep. It works better than anything I've ever tried. And, I get like one bottle a year, and they still are no go for that. I guess it really caused a lot of problems.
Well, it's really scary because there's this span of time when people take Ambien, they can't a lot of people can't remember because they're supposed to be asleep, but then they can't go to sleep. As Cheryl is saying, because you're awake for days, but you don't know you're awake. You're just like gone. And so I just remember going and getting off of everything. And I remember saying, I have to get off these pills. I didn't even know what had happened to me. By the time my body was like expecting me to give it drugs, I was like, oh my gosh, And here's kicker. And this is why it works. Because, and I'm not a medical professional, this is not medical advice. Don't take it as such. Listen, our bodies start relying on the external medication.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, none of it is natural. It's the opposite of natural for sure.
and this right. So then
Yeah.
we don't produce our own pain relieving uh properties in our own bodies. It takes a while after you get off the medication to actually retrain your body on how to do that, but it is brutal. And so if anybody's ever been through that, I my heart goes out to you. But just like we relied on something external like a pill or whatever, how many other things in our life do we rely on externally from us in order for us to be happy? Is it a happy pill? Is it a happy guy? Is it a happy girl? Is it your dog?
New
Whatever it
car,
is,
new handbag.
new car, new handbag, the list goes on and on. And so I really had that question, just like we looked at a pill externally. It's about that quick fix and rather than sitting with ourselves. And that's so I want to talk about the escapism of external distraction, not
Well,
extraction.
something else that we can throw in here because I've been
Okay.
I did a TikTok. I recorded a TikTok this morning. It's not out yet about toxic spirituality, and you and I have talked about this before, and about the craze in the spiritual community. And spiritual community means so much because it's such a big tent about taking something. And the word plant medicine gets danced out very often when you start talking about this stuff. Taking something, consuming something to sort of lift that veil and have this experience
Mhm.
of the energetic realm, essentially. And I haven't done any of that. I've never done ayahuasca. I would be open to doing it. I'm not afraid to do it. I would be open to doing it. But I love experiencing that lucid. I love going on a journey of meditation, and it doesn't happen in a session. I think people want to fast forward to everything, and I understand that. I can be impatient as well. I think we want to go down to, what is the Eurythmia, the
R-
resort Eurythmia. Am I saying that right?
Rhythmia, a life advancement center owned by Jerry Powell over in
Yeah,
Costa Rica.
yeah. So I hear stories about people
Incredible.
going down there, and taking days and doing all of this stuff. I'm not against anything. I'm not anti anything, and I would probably do it. But it does seem like we always want to fast forward and get the super pill or the super um, path into things, where I spent many years meditating and going inward, going inward, going inward, going deep, going deep, going deep, just with my own tools that I came pre-equipped with, that we all have. And that has taken me on this journey. And I talk to people now on my podcast, and just in life in general, that do that sort of thing, and they get there really fast. But I think it's an amped up version that is an experience. But I think that I extracted a lot more out of my experience of doing it slowly and more naturally. So this isn't about right and wrong and do it David's way or your friend's way. Yeah, it's not about that at all. It's just I feel like I've gotten so much from the universe in this ongoing, never-ending journey, where when I think I've hit the ceiling and I've figured it all out, boom, there's so much more. And I finally realized several years ago now, that it never ends, because we're an expansive species in an expansive world, in an expansive universe. So
Absolutely.
there's never going to be a ceiling, because just when you get to the point where you think you've got it all figured out, there's going to be a whole other layer that we're all collectively creating. All creation is creating. So there's just no end to it. And
I lo-
that's the whole purpose of coming to physical,
yeah,
because we just keep this expansion going.
I love
How cool
that.
is that?
It's really
And we're
cool.
never
And
going back.
well,
We're
here's what's
never going
cool.
back to the good old days. It's not happening, because it's already
Mm-mm.
happened. We don't need to go and
We
relive
don't need
the
to.
good old days.
Well, I just want to address plant medicine a little bit and talk about that for a second. Um, Plant medicine is interesting because I think that I haven't done ayahuasca, but I do have some of my closest friends that have, including I know some people that own treatment centers that have and swear by this. Um, Michael Beckwith is one of their main supporters, along with Jack Canfield, which just came in. But even Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, all of these guys that are out there studying, and Joe Dispenza and all of them. I mean, Bashar, all of them have been to Rhythmia. Thing about ayahuasca, my understanding, is you come out of it with clarity, but it takes months to integrate. I think you're probably correct with the work that you've been doing. And, I think that for someone like where you're at, that it's just seeing how high you can go. Not literally, I mean, what is its actual, that visual, whatever. I haven't done that. Shrooms, I've microdosed shrooms many times for at length for a month or two till it doesn't call to me anymore. I don't feel any psychedelic effects whatsoever. Period. The reason I like that personally is because that, from the studies that I've read, it rewires your neural pathways. So if you're doing a practice like Taya, which I am, and at the time when I was doing the microdosing of mushrooms, when I say microdosing, I'm talking a very minuscule amount, tiny. Uh,
Hence the
with
micro.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure we all get that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's yeah, and the practices are important, because if you're going to go to this extreme to rewire your brain, and the mushrooms help to rebuild those neural pathways that have been damaged. They help to rebuild a lot of things going on within your body. It's just, for me, I, after a couple of months, I didn't feel called to them anymore, but I can't really explain it. Things just make more sense, and they continue to make more sense, and things aren't as traumatic, or I understand what my nervous system is doing now. It's shown me things in my body, but I'm the one that has to do this work. There is
Yeah, and
no
I'm not trying to
there
sell
is
Taya, but
no
to me, I think the thing I love about Taya, and that's what the stream guided me to, is that you automatically, when you do those four things in Taya, you you're on that journey already without. And the reason that you kind of set me off on this path is because you said nothing external,
right.
nothing, and that was the whole thing with Taya, nothing external. And
Nothing
I even
external.
introduced last year, no, in 2021, for a moment, I introduced another practice into Taya just for a moment, and it seemed very Taya esque. And then it kind of turned everything upside down. And I realized, oh, wait a minute. What was delivered to me in the beginning was perfection the way that it was. And here
Right.
my ego is wanting to, amp all this up and let's bring in some sexy, outside thing. And it wasn't a good experience, but it was a wonderful experience in teaching myself that those four pillars are all anyone ever needs, nothing external, nothing else. But that doesn't mean that it's dogma. The thing I love about what the stream has given us, there's nothing wrong with any practice. There's nothing wrong with any path. There's not even anything wrong with being a heroin addict to source,
That's right.
because it's
I
an
heard
experience.
I heard
Sorry.
something that was a trip. No, you were still talking and I got all excited. Did you guys see what
No,
I
get
do?
excited. I talk over you. You
Well,
talk over me. It's fine.
well,
It's
I
what we
got
do here.
excited about this because look, a petri dish. You're looking at a petri dish and you've got bacteria that's not good. You have bacteria that you would maybe, I mean, you just look at it. Bacteria is bacteria. One's growing one way, one's growing the other, but you're just the observer looking at your petri dish. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to say I really want to preface this though. In my own experience with shrooms, weed, haven't done anything else. MDMA,
Oh, see, I've alcohol, plenty of
Molly.
alcohol throughout my life, and I've done Molly and ecstasy. I don't think there's really a difference between those two things.
There is a
There
difference,
was
but
there was there's a 2 or 3 decades of difference in my doing them, and maybe that was just the labeling of them. But yeah,
well, I did all of these things therapeutically, and there's no need to ever do Molly again for me. I'm There's no need. What was interesting for me to clarify what you're saying about the four pillars, to clarify what you're saying about Taya, there wasn't a big shift other than literally no ego. Other than that, when I'm at one mint with source connection, there is no difference between that and Molly for me. There's not even a difference. Like it's the
well, yeah,
same.
because
So
Source is loving all that is, and Molly sort of takes you there, and it's an art. Maybe it's not in an artificial way, but the experience I had on it was very. I love everything and everyone. It was very
that's
much like
it.
that.
That's interesting. I didn't have a I love everything and everyone. I had
Oh, I
a
did both times. I did it at 19 and I did it at 51.
oh
So a
really?
little spread. Oh yeah, 19 and 51 were the
I was
ages that I did that.
I was
And
like 54.
yeah.
Yeah, 53.
Well, if you're guided to do something, you should do it. And I did it a couple of times. I'm glad. And I'm not looking to go back and do it again. I'm 55 now. I haven't done it again, so I guess not. But
Well, one of the reason so what happens is that you get a serotonin drop with that kind of a drug, and it drops all your serotonin. So you have to have 5-HTP. And having shrooms to microdose the next day is also very helpful because that's how I brought my serotonin back up. Because the drop is really extreme, and the next day is not. It's just exhaustion. But one thing I can say, I don't know if
yeah,
Molly.
I stayed up all night and then slept all day the next day. But then I was
Yeah,
fine after. When I woke up in the late afternoon, I was fine.
I say that Molly really gave me that deep heart connection where you could really go and kind of a remembrance of all and everything that we truly are and that spark of the divine. The mushrooms, well, I didn't really do them psychedelic. Like, I could just tell you that the sky was bluer, and there's been many different experiences. I think it just depends on what you're looking for. I'm looking for to expand to a greater sense of joy and love and peace that I can be for other people and myself. I do these things to see if I can get even closer to source. I don't know if it's possible. I have my own reasons, but are they needed externally? Absolutely not.
Well, the thing about getting closer to source is when you die, you're going to. So
You know what's funny
because
about that?
you're an expression of source. So
Yeah.
I'm not in a rush to be completely at one with source. In fact, I'm enjoying my humanity more with all of the clarity that I've manifested. I'm enjoying humanity more. The ups and
That
the
makes sense.
downs and the imperfection and when the ego comes back around and all of that stuff is the human journey that we should savor while we're in it because that's what our soul is desiring is to be in the human experience. We're not supposed to go sit and meditate our lives away trying to be one with source. We're going to spend an eternity that way. We are projecting into physical for the physical experience. So why not do it however you want to do it? There's
Do
no
it, yeah.
wrong way to do it.
I gotta agree with that. And I also, want to preface that we both have been doing this a long time. It wasn't like I jumped into my healing journey and said, "Oh, I think I'll go this route." It was years and years and years later. And no matter what you all decide out there to do, make sure that you're doing it safely. You have a really good environment. Environment's everything. And check back with me here shortly, and we'll be letting you know what retreats are coming out here to the Gratitude Ranch because Colorado is legal.
There we
Just
go.
saying. Just saying. Well, we in 2024, we plan on being one of the legal institutes here for it. So for psilocybin. So it's all, but again, it has to do with what do you need? What do you need to be connected, reconnected to source? It's all disconnect. I mean, everything. It's all disconnect.
Yeah.
I would
Well, the
say,
disconnection, the ego, the function of ego is to disconnect us from source. And the disconnecting from source is the human experience.
absolutely.
That's why that's what it's all about. So the perfection of imperfection, right?
Oh, the perfection of perfection keeps me on the earth because if we didn't have it, you wouldn't be here.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, nobody is experiencing perfection, and that's why I have from day one I have always shared all of my imperfections all over the place. I'd probably have a lot more followers
Mm.
in this realm if I put some bullshit version of myself out there, but I just can't do it. So
Well,
here I am. This is how I am. This is what's going on. But I love to share it in a constructive way that has benefit for the audience rather than just telling stories, for the sake of telling stories. I got plenty of stories. I have a new story.
what's your new story?
Katerina, who co she
We love cat.
so Katerina also goes by Kat. She was the editor of my first book, and she's the co-author of my forthcoming book, which I'm now going to plug, dropping on 11/11/23. Thank you very much. You can pre-order now on Amazon.com. It's called The Taya Practice. And we've been writing this book together since 2018.
Yep.
We published the stream book and we started writing this book right away. And I wrote it, and then I realized, okay, this is nowhere near done. I rewrote it some more, and I realized that what I needed? I needed years of teaching Taya in Taya boot camp to lots of different types of people to really be able to write this damn book. Yes, I get the pillars are channeled, all that, but the human side of me, the imperfect David side of me, stumbling and employing my ego and doing all the things that I did in the 5 years as of today, by the way, in Taya boot camp. That's when the book was really ready. So today is the fifth anniversary of the first two graduates of Taya boot camp.
Woo!
Popped up on Facebook
Congratulations.
today. Yeah. And Walt,
Nice.
who was on my podcast today recording it, he just hit his 2000th episode of LOA today. So we both had milestones to
Whew.
celebrate. 2000.
2000.
I mean, the Stream of David. It seems like I've been doing that forever. I've been doing that since 2017, and we're in the 200s. But I do one a week, and you all know in the summertime I get lazy, and I do like one or two all summer, like I just did, and then I get back on weekly again. But he's been doing it 5 days a week. He's down to 3 now, but he's been doing it for 11 years.
Yeah.
So he loves podcasting. He does. I do too. I'll do it forever. I have 2 podcasts
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So and I love doing it. I love the medium of doing it. But boot
Yeah.
camp, 5 years old. I was telling him that last year I thought boot camp was going to die. I was going to let it die.
I
I
remember
wasn't
that. Yeah.
promoting it. I wasn't doing this at that time. I wasn't
Yeah.
doing much of anything, and I was doing the podcast and I was focused on remodeling the house, and that was pretty much my life last year.
Yep.
But every time somebody was about to graduate, somebody else would join. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't promoting it, but somebody would show up and say, "Hey, I'm ready to join. Here's my money. Let's
Yep.
go." And it was amazing that, okay, obviously there's a vibration here that isn't done. And now we're enrolling again. We have a lot more people coming in now, which is really exciting. So it's like it hit a little lull, and now it's going back up. So I want to keep Thai boot camp going indefinitely. I
Mhm.
don't want it to turn into the monster that I was trying to make it into in 2021, because I was turning it back into a corporate machine, which is
Yeah.
really not. Again, my soul didn't want that. My ego wanted it for a minute, but now my ego is like, hell no, we don't want to do all that.
That's a lot, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I like the idea of having some things that are automated, that people can learn from, but you can't. I have learned in this teaching business, you can't just have a bunch of automated stuff that you don't support with live interaction, because people need coaching. Everyone's different. Uh, all the people that have gone through boot camp, they do the same 17 modules. They all have a wonderful experience, but the experience is different for every single person. And
Yeah.
you've got to work with people to get them through, all of the ups and downs of something like that. So, we'll always keep it small enough or boutique enough to do that. That's my commitment.
And I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about the reboot that some of us are gonna be needing here pretty quick.
Well, I
And
talked
that's
to somebody
coming,
this week who dropped out, and she was talking about getting back in. So I was very excited to hear from her. I always love to hear. I don't chase people down. If they get into it and they don't finish for some reason, I just kind of like let them go do their thing. They almost always come back, because they got in for a reason,
right?
and that's just part of their process. That is, if you think about it, that is the universal process of creation. High vibration, new desire, new relationship, new health regime, new job, new business. It's exciting. Everybody loves it. It's great. And inevitably, polarity is going to pull the vibration down. Things are going to unravel. You're going to start to see the flaws in the person or the product or the business or whatever. And then what? Well, a lot of times we just say, okay, let's throw in the towel. This is it. But that's just the universal process of creation. It's the universe, i.e., your vibration, revealing what is left to be done in the creation of that new thing,
Right.
whatever it is. And you get to choose, do I want to notice the flaws and can I live with them? Can I fix them? Is it something I can make better? And then the only way to really solve it is to allow the vibration to go back up so that you have the solving power of source on your side. Well, how in the hell do you do that? You appreciate the low vibe stuff. You appreciate the spin out. That's why Debbie gratitude is Debbie gratitude. That's the magic of gratitude and appreciation, because that's the vibration of source. That's why I said source is completely okay with the homeless person dying of a heroin overdose under an overpass. People don't understand that. That's their journey and their experience. And if you're looking at it from source perspective, which we all have access to, there's nothing wrong with that. The
Right.
human ego perspective is that's wrong. That shouldn't be happening, but it does happen. And that's where people get so bent on religion and things like that. Like, how can this, creative entity allow that to happen? Well, the creative entity is not a human ego driven judgmental entity. I got way off on a really deep sidetrack here, but it's a good one. So let's dive into it. That's the thing. That's the
Yeah.
secret sauce there of why suffering happens and why we're in this world of duality, and we're not rushing toward utopia. In fact, we don't want utopia. Utopia is eternal state of being.
That's right.
Utopia on earth is loving exactly what is. Whatever you're experiencing, wherever you are, your physical pain, your extra weight. I'm back. I went to the doctor. I'm back up again. He's like, you're on this great path. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. Summer happened. Sorry. So,
Are you getting are you mushy? I'm mushy.
oh, I'm mushy as hell right now.
I'm
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
like, I just, like, been healing this broken leg, and I'm starting to lose weight, but David, it's mushy.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of body types after 50 that we're well aware of. So I went for a stress test a couple of weeks ago. The first time I've ever done a stress test. I don't have any heart issues at all, but I thought, I'm 55. I should just go see if there's something lingering. You
Yeah?
hear these dudes just dropping dead. I'm like, I should do that. So I went for a stress test, and she says, your heart's great. Your only thing is that you're deconditioned. I said, so you're
Ooh!
telling me I'm out of shape? That's like the official medical term,
Oh
I guess, for out of
my
shape. You're
stars.
deconditioned. I'm like, I know I'm deconditioned. I know.
Deconditioned.
Deconditioned.
I'm deconditioned.
I'm just deconditioned. Let me.
I'm just
It's like when you're
deconditioned.
drunk and you say that you're overserved. I was overserved. Yeah, you overconsumed is what you did.
Okay, so you went to the doctor, you had the stress test done,
Yeah, and stress
and you're
test is
fine. And you're
fine.
fine. But I'm glad that you're taking initiative. I want to talk about what you were just being okay in the now and how to move forward. And if things aren't looking, this expectation that I've had about certain things in my life, and then to be disappointed by my own ass's in expectation is just, and then I'm butthurt. It's all me.
Yeah,
But here's what happens when I get focused on anybody else, forget it. And when somebody says, "How do I get an appreciation? Because this bites, that bites." Well, first of all, it's because you're looking at what's not working. But the second thing is that we're not appreciating any part of our life. We're not appreciating anything. And the thing is small. It is not hard. 2 to 5 things, David. You wrote it in your post today. If you guys missed the post on the on the
Screaming David.
Stream of David page, you need to go
I have a
look at
lot of
that.
them. Yes, I know. And I think
All
I
right.
put it in Thai
But just
also.
go and read it because there's some little nuggets in there about what you can do to actually start implementing this being one of the only and best practices you're ever going to do in your entire life, appreciation. And the smallest tiniest thing, I don't care what it is, and do something small to move forward. It doesn't take big giant steps. I was talking to Josie yesterday and she's like, helping to get me focused. I'm talking and I go over here, looking at over here, and she'd go to
It's good to have
refocus.
because you and I both do that, and it's good to have someone in your life that kind of like Michael does that. He goes, "Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Get back over here." He says that. Where'd you go?
Yeah, that would be Josie for me because
Good.
yeah, or you or anybody else.
Oh, I don't.
But anyway,
I let you spin way out because if you're over there, I'm probably over here. We
oh,
both do
we
that.
always meet somewhere back in the middle. It's great,
Yeah,
and
we'll
we're
figure it out.
and we're dancing,
We'll
doing
find our way
truly,
back.
doing trulies. Woo! David and I have known each other for eternity and lifetimes, and Michael. So okay, do something small. Say, but appreciation isn't going to work for me. I'm really unhappy and blah, blah, blah. God, you know what? There's times, David, that I haven't wanted to come on because I'll feel hypocritical because I'm in a relationship and I used to think that I was 4 years by myself. So that means I'm going to do just killer in relationships. And oh my stars, do I have so much to continue to learn every day of my life. And there's been times when I haven't even wanted to get on because I wasn't appreciating where I was at. I was just in pain or I've been healing or whatever, especially with this broken leg. And I'm a bear when I'm hurting. I'm like, "Rah!"
But isn't
So
coming on here and sharing all this kind of medicine for you?
it is medicine for me.
It is for
But
me.
but I want to tell you all what I was doing because I want to just really like let this sink in. I love this right here. This is what I love. I love sharing my life and sharing how in the world I got from A to B with all the stuff in the middle on the A minus and whatever.
All of the fun stuff that's cool to talk about. I never
Oh,
finished my
yeah.
cat story, by the way. I got way off. I'll have to tell you about that in a minute.
How did you? Yeah, I got to know about that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I plugged the book and I got into plugging the
I
book.
got to tell you. Okay, look at my
Got to
my lip.
sell some books.
Oh Jesus, criminy! Look at I was like all.
Yeah, if
But
anybody thinks people make money selling books, they
don't make myself.
don't. No.
Listen, so I'm all over there judging myself about what a bitch I've been. Truthfully, going, how am I? What am I supposed to get online and talk about what a bitch I've been instead of how in gratitude? Now I've shifted this, and I guess maybe that's when you're going through it. Sometimes you
Yeah, I
just want
think
you.
getting on talking about is very therapeutic, and we will welcome you on here no matter how much of a pill you're being.
Well, listen, Linda, accountability, and I've talked about this before, and I think this is why in these past shows I keep bringing up accountability because I keep looking at myself with that accountability. But let's bring the appreciation in there because I can feel, and I'm still on the planet. And even if it's my leg that hurts or my brain that wants to go because I'm just on overload, I now get to recognize it or see it or feel it. Taya gives you the tools to decide whether or not you're going to go up or down your spiral. Sometimes I'm going down my spiral and I know it and I laugh about it because I know what I'm being. I know, David, it's not like
Yeah.
I don't. I know, and
Yeah,
in
knowing
fact,
where you are vibrationally is huge. I just did a new, and I haven't published it yet, but we're going to publish a new spiral training that'll be free that you can just go in and take.
I'm about
And
that.
it talks about vibrational awareness. You know, what Taya, one of the pillars of Taya is polarity, which is really vibrational awareness, knowing where you are. Because usually the only times how I feel, you know, we all know where we are vibrationally based on how we feel, but sometimes you do get into that middle space of get it done mode, and you
Yeah,
don't realize that you're down until things start to unravel or just kind of go crappy. But I take note the very first little thing that doesn't go right off the bat, I'm like, oh, I'm not vibrationally where I want to be. Today was an opposite day of that for me. I have this tripod that I bought that because I like to stand and do my videos and my short ones. And so I bought this taller tripod. And when we went to Malibu, I took it. And when we came back, I lost part of it, came off. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have to buy another one. I'll know I'll never find this piece. That was a couple of days ago. Well, my vibration was in a much better place today. I didn't even bother looking for it. And of course, I go out to the car, to the SUV, push the button. And, this thing has, pockets and holes and crevices everywhere. It's just sitting there perfectly in the back of the car, just right there waiting for me. And then the whole day today has been that, just one perfect thing after the next all day long. And I love these days. And I didn't
how'd
do
you wake
anything
up?
to be here, but there are other days that I don't do anything and I'm down, and then I catch myself down there, and then I'm like, oh, I need to appreciate. I need to do some appreciation exercises or low thought activities, or I need to go meditate. Depending on where I am, we know what to do. And today, being up so naturally, I set intentions today. I'm like, oh, I'm in the good spot today. I'm going to laugh a lot. I'm going to think
Yeah.
about the stuff that I want to experience. I'm going to milk this for all I can while I'm just naturally, way up here up my spiral. And so, life is a vibrational journey, and a day like today wouldn't be so special if we just experienced that every single day. And it's the little
I agree.
things. I know people think that's crazy. Well, that's great, but I want this, this, and that. I understand that, but
And then
it's
you just
the
want some more shit when that
yeah, the
comes.
little thing though is always a sign that you're up, and then you can just take it anywhere you want to go from there, instead of thinking about, okay, that's great, but I still want $1 million, or whatever it is. That you're just canceling yourself right off the bat when you're not giving gratitude for finding the stupid little piece of plastic you're looking for.
That's it. Did you start the morning off in meditation?
Yeah, well, I did. I got up early and I came out and I kind of just sat in silence, kind of pretty close to what you would call a meditation. I do all the things, detuning things to keep my vibe pretty high as it is, so I can get in there pretty quick. But I didn't sit for like half an hour in silence this morning or anything like that. It was brief, just sitting
Okay.
in. Oh, the dogs are asleep. I can have some quiet time without being pummeled by a French bulldog right now. Michael's conked out. I'm going to have the living room to myself for a little bit. And I loved it. I think that kind of set my day off in the right direction for sure.
That's what I experienced today too. That's why I was curious about it, because I made the intention this morning uh to listen to to some David Strickel on TikTok, and some other great just music. Did some chanting with some Mary
Well, I sent
Isis.
you a video. It probably, I don't know if it raised your vibration or not, but there's this video of when I used to live in Orlando, Universal Studios has a big theme park there, and they do Halloween horror nights. And I haven't heard about this in years and years and years, but now there's this thing on TikTok, this horror movie, Megan, this creepy doll Megan, and there are these
Yeah,
girls that do this Megan creepy dance thing that's like a new thing that's come out. Well, I
yeah,
sat and watched one yesterday, and of course, lovely TikTok. If you watch one, that means you want to see it 100 more times in your feed.
yeah.
And so I thought it was really cool. I sent you the video. You have to watch it.
Thank you.
I found it uplifting watching the haunted dolls. That's what I was going to tell you about. So Katerina, I'm sitting. We're just having a meeting about the book. We're not live on air or anything like that. Well, Katerina never ceases to just. She's the most interesting person I've ever encountered in my life. She's barely 40, and she's just lived a million lives already. She's done it all. She lived in India. She's been in a cult. She's just, done all kinds of interesting stuff. I remember I got into alpacas during the pandemic. I decided I wanted to move to Texas and raise alpacas. It didn't happen. They'd just be in the house running around because I'm sure as hell not going to be a farmer. So anyway,
Oh,
she goes,
Lord.
oh, well, I used to raise alpacas and I bought a loom and I'm like, of course you did. Of course you've just done it all. So anyway, so now she's into this thing. She's into haunted dolls. And so she's got all these creepy dolls behind her on a shelf. And I hope you all enjoy the story as much as I do. We'll probably see the viewership plummet now. Because my sister had this creepy doll named Victoria, and it had like one eye
Yeah.
open and one eye closed, and
I had one
just
of those, yeah.
thing. Yeah, it was really, it was like her grandmother's doll. And it just, I'd walk in the room and the thing would be staring at me, and I'm like, oh, I don't want any part of that. So anyway, I think every girl had a creepy haunted doll. So she says, my office really smells. And I said, why? She goes, well, I got a new haunted doll and it really smells. I'm going, why did it smell? She said,
Yeah.
because it came out of a coffin. Welcome to the spiritual hour with David and Debbie talking about literally haunted. I'm like, so this doll was found in a child's did you pay extra for that? She goes, oh yeah, it was like the most expensive doll they had. Like, that is so creepy. That is so
And
creepy.
so
But Source appreciates all things.
Source does appreciate all
Source isn't
things.
judgmental, but certainly
No.
those of us that are somewhat in the matrix sometime, I'm like, okay, that's pretty damn creepy to have a doll out of an actual child's coffin.
Yeah.
That's weird and creepy. And what the hell are you doing? And she's just
Oh
like,
my God.
and that's what I love about her though. There's no fear. There's no judgment. There's just, this is just what I'm doing now. I'm into haunted dolls. And I guess
Well,
if you're
I'm
into haunted
curious,
dolls, the
why?
pinnacle of haunted dolls would be one out of an actual coffin.
Yeah, but
A
why?
very old coffin. I'll leave it at that.
That's like really cool though. I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
can you
it's cool and
well, I
creepy and
mean,
weird all at the same time. I should have saved
oh
the
to
story and had her on
God.
and let her tell it on the
You
podcast.
really should, because I really yeah, it's a big old wow.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm actually excited about
yeah,
that.
yeah. Wow, wow, indeed. That was a wow.
Well, you know what life is to be experienced. Period. You're here to experience life.
Well, if
You're
you're
not
detuning judgment and fear in your life, then things like that coming along,
yeah.
I love to talk about how, nothing surprises me anymore. That surprised me. I never thought of such things. And, here we are talking about it. So, yeah.
I mean, wow, that is fantastic. If you can imagine it, it's real. Everything that we've ever, I mean, whatever you're watching this on, somebody else thought of at some point. This is all, this is creation. This is the collective. We should all give ourselves a big old squeezy hug for being such badasses and showing up in this day and time and age. We are here at the most expansive time on the earth. I mean, that's obvious. Everybody should know that. It's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of
No, this is a
everything.
really,
This is
we're very fortunate. I don't know what we did, especially you and I, because we got to be Gen X, the
yeah,
feral generation,
we are
and
feral.
we got to be here at this time of awakening, still
Yeah.
old enough to appreciate it, I think, and young enough to be aware of what's going on. That's just me and my appreciation for exactly who I am and what I am. Amazing though, right? We are breaking out of the matrix. And
Yeah.
that's something else that Walt said today too, because he has lots of guests on his podcast
Yeah, he
from
does.
all different walks of life, all, kind of interested in law of attraction, obviously, but there's a whole spectrum of belief systems within that big tent of LOA. And he just talks about how everybody, no matter how they're doing it, there's just so many people that are awakening in their own way, in different ways, but everybody's sort of coming around to, wow, everything is an illusion, and everything that we've been taught is about control, and we don't have to necessarily buy into anything if we don't want to. And there's so much of the old matrix that just doesn't serve us anymore,
That's
and
right.
we're figuring that out. Like, hey, I don't need to be told to do that or not do that. I can be a decent human being without a book of rules and the threat of eternal damnation and all of that stuff. So we've been leaving that behind, I think. But the matrix is tricky. And what came after religion for me, the way I see it, is consumerism sort of became the new religion. Consumerism sort of became the new God. And we've been in that matrix for a while. And there was
Yeah.
something about the pandemic, and I think the pandemic was a huge part of us breaking out of the matrix, that that crumbled somewhat.
Yeah.
People sort of got into that. I'm not going to buy into this. Happiness is found in the next handbag or the next new car or the bigger house or the bigger salary. That was the belief system for a long, long time, and I'm just not going to buy into that. And then things started really changing when people stopped buying into it, especially the younger generation,
Yeah.
because they are born with more sophistication. They're born up to speed with the time they come in, and they're just not having it. They're not having any of it. That's why we have
Yeah.
all of this, the debate about gender identity and all this stuff. Like, no, we don't want to be in anybody's matrix.
Well, that's kind of true. I mean, seriously, they don't want to be, but in our generation, I still see people struggling with the fear mongering and what was hilarious is that, I mean, we were raised on a patriarchal written book, for goodness sake. Not to say that there isn't really good stuff that you can take from it, because you could take something good from anything and
Everything is
everything in life,
polarized. There's positive and negative to
period.
everything.
But
Everything.
but good golly, if you are, let's just call us non-traditional. That's what I'm called in college. I'm non-traditional. David and I are both non-traditional, period. That's pretty much, I think that's a safe way to put it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would be, yeah, I would be burned. We're going to be burned at the stake, David.
Oh, yeah.
But when you really sit down and you look at it and you study these things like I do and all of this, it comes to light that this book was written by men. Oh my God. The United States was written by men. What the hell is going on here? The break of the matrix. You guys open your eyes. If you're afraid, like, oh, I can't believe this thing because I was told I'll go to hell. Well,
Yeah. Institutions of control.
double hockey
Institutions of
sticks.
control. They're endless institutions of control. And one of the
Yeah.
sneaky things about the Matrix, though, is you start
Yeah.
to get out of it and you judge it. And I see this a lot with people that are awakening. Their
Yeah.
ego is still very much intact because you're judging the people that aren't where you are in your spiritual journey.
Yeah.
You're back in the matrix, dude. That's ego, because you're not appreciating all that is, which is what source is. If you're saying, well, I'm more spiritual than you, or I'm further along, or
I'm more
I'm an
spiritual than
older
you are.
soul than you, or and I see a lot of these things too, and I don't think that they're necessarily bad. They're places for people to gather, but people that call themselves light workers and star seeds and all of these things, I think that's great until you start using it to place yourself up on a pedestal as superior, because I've witnessed that. And that's when I kind of get in like, oh, this is going a little sideways for me. I'm not, I don't feel like because I channel that I'm
Right.
superior. And I don't feel like, if you want to call that a gift, I think that it's fine. I don't really refer to it that way. I think everyone channels in their own way. And I developed an ability to write it and speak it, but that's just my contribution at this time to anybody that's interested in it. And certainly not everybody
Correct.
is. So the concept of control, you're right. It's, I don't know if it's ever been different, whatever was before humanity. I believe that there was a society that sort of, or probably many that, rose and fell before what we know about right now. And what we know about right now, the history is men wanted to control everything, and they wrote books saying, do what we say, and we speak for God. And if you don't do what we say, you're going to burn in hell, or we're going to burn you at the stake, or some version of that. And then, of course, government and things like that was just a spinoff of all that stuff. So we're really getting into a place where we see that for what it is, and we can step out of it. But as soon as we start feeling superior in that, or judging people that aren't where we are, I think you're right back in it.
I think that that is true. I just encourage people to use their own minds. Start realizing that you have control over your own brain and that you can have the life you want and choose if you so desire. It really is about seeing things differently. And I love men, and I'm not trying to say that that, but there's a lot of things about the patriarchal that was here for our expansion as human beings, period. It's all for our good. And that's the thing. Even the things that we look at and we say we don't like that or whatever, but that's okay. I mean, big deal. So don't do that. Don't be that.
The
Don't be
stream
around it.
said years ago, the stream said that in our current world, women's contributions aren't in the 3D world in the Matrix, they're not valued the same. But in reality, they are. And there's this disconnect because men, even though they participate in procreation, they're not the ones actually creating new life and giving birth. And that's the most important, most powerful. You already know all this, right? Like, of course, dumbass, I know all this, but I'm mansplaining it to you now. But the stream said this, that there was almost like an envy there, and that to sort of balance things out, men felt like they needed to control everything because you've got this power, we've got to control you. If you look at people that are like groups of people that are really oppressed,
Yes.
that's because those people actually have more power, and the oppression is to hold that power down, whether it's creative energy or their souls are intentionally coming and projecting into a world where they're going to suffer more, most likely because they're an oppressed group,
That,
and that's by choice. That automatically makes them more powerful, automatically.
yeah. And but all of it is to help us expand why we're here. And that's the cool part. The thing is, feels. We all get the feels, but we're supposed to have the feels. We were brought up, you're not supposed to have the feels. And if you have the feels, don't talk about the feels. Don't you put those under the rug. And I saw that somebody here is also 60. Lisa, put those under the rug. Opinions, stop cherishing the opinions of others.
I was about to put that up.
Oh my stars. We'd all be billionaires if we were
Or our
given.
own opinions for that reason, that matter,
There,
right?
okay, absolutely. I got to tell you, I am excited. I'm excited about these conversations. I'm excited about the conversation we had today. I hope y'all got some nuggets out of this, because the fact is that things like Taya, they're a practice. It's a practice. It's what you put into it. That's what's going to come out of it. It all depends on what you want to seek in life. Me personally, I'm ready to do some more Taya again, and meaning redo some modules and have some fun with it, because it is so much fun to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I did that. Oopsie.
Well, and I will leave with a parting thought too. We have to remember that when you're taking responsibility for, we're telling you that you create your reality. I think if you're watching this, you probably know that. And it's important to understand that when you come around to the awareness that you create your own reality, don't fall into the trap of fault and blame and even karma. I do believe in karma, but I believe in karma like law of attraction, that we create our own reality. What we put out, we get back. And
Yeah.
when you do nasty things, yeah, you're going to get that energy back for sure. But you're not here suffering because of something that you did, and I don't believe that at all. I believe that we suffer when we judge what we're experiencing as this shouldn't be happening. And when we stop judging what we're experiencing as this shouldn't be happening, the whole experience changes. Even when you break your damn leg, or when your house burns down, or pretty soon I have another one coming. I'm having back surgery pretty soon. So I'll be using these tools in my spinal fusion surgery.
I'm super excited about that, but I really love those nuggets. And today's just been it's so exciting. How exciting you're going to get to experience something, because on the flip side of that, you're dead.
Oh, my
Just,
back surgery, I'm extremely excited about it. I've been wanting it for quite some time, and it's a
oh, I didn't mean you.
manifestation.
I meant out there
Oh, I
in
thought
the
you meant me. I'm like,
individual.
no, I'm thrilled. I
Oh,
was
I know.
really
He's
wanting this. Yeah.
I'm excited for you as well. And I
Because I believe
understand.
I can heal myself. I tore my meniscus, and that's completely fine now. I do believe I can heal myself, but my spine at my L5 is like this, you know. So we want it to be like this, and I can't muster enough belief to fix that. I've been trying for 20 years. So
I
yeah,
there are
my
there
manifestation is the right doctor. I live very close to a fantastic health facility, and I am very very excited for that whole process.
there's a time and a place for doctors, I promise you. And
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
I mean, I just broke my leg, but I had surgery to remove a tumor that was 200 times the size of the average person who gets a
Yeah, I
tumor,
remember
of
that.
course. And they caught that before that the massive amounts of calcium in my body gave me a heart attack. But you gotta, sometimes we must have that's what it's there for.
Well, you look fantastic. You got your glow back. You look wonderful.
Thank you. And you look fantastic, even if we're deconditioned a little bit.
We're deconditioned,
A little
and we're
bit.
heading to back surgery, and then we're going to get reconditioned.
Let's do it, baby. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for sticking around even after the creepy doll story. It
I
was
just
just too, some things are just too unusual to not share with the world. So,
It's unusual. Creepy dolls. That's
well, I share that kind of thing toward the end of the broadcast because I'm like, if they stuck around this long, they can handle one more thing.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank
You
you all
rock.
so much for watching. Debbie, always I appreciate you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
That's so much fun.
Bye, everybody.